I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey. How the hell are ya? Tampa Tones here. J-Lo, the great J-Lo, joining the program shortly. A lot to talk about. And we're only a little bit into the off-season. Changed up my background, off-season time. You know, you got to make some changes around here, kind of like the Bucs are doing, right? For better or for worse, that's what the Bucs are doing. You know, it's one of those things that not planned to lose your offensive coordinator after just one season. We're going to talk about that when J-Lo joins the show and a couple of other things. As Jay Garrison is joining us on Facebook for the moment. How you doing, Jay? Hope all is well with you, my Bucs brother. But yeah, it's a shame the Bucs did fall to the Lions this past Sunday by 8 points. Season's over. Really miraculous year, up and down year. The fairy tale journey it was, I call it. And not a fairy tale ending, but a hell of a magical ride. And this Bucs team overachieved many fans' predictions, many media's predictions, a lot of people. Not me, though. I had them as a playoff team. But, man, that game against Philly was a lot of fun. But the Bucs season is come and gone just like that. That's the thing about football, right? It's preseason. You're ready. You're excited. You're getting ready. You're getting excited for the regular season. Then week one hits and you got all the optimism in the world. And then before you know it, the season concludes and it ends just like that, right? Bucs lose on a Sunday and then offseason hits Monday. Dave Canales leaves town on a Wednesday or Thursday. So everything just happens so quickly. And the offseason, just like that, is underway. And the Bucs offensive coordinator search is underway. For you guys who are out of the loop or haven't been paying attention, the Bucs are ramping up their searches already for their new offensive coordinator. And they are bringing in names that they've brought in before. They have a familiar household name they're going to give a chance to, perhaps. They got 4 other candidates on the way, ready for interviews, and we're going to get into those candidates here in a little bit. I'll mention them quickly, then we're actually going to break them down when J-Lo joins, the great J-Lo, expected to be here in about 5 minutes now here on the Buccaneers. You guys are either joining us via YouTube or Facebook, and you could catch the instant replay of us on Apple, Spotify, Google, so much more here on the Buccaneers. And I just want to thank everyone real quick for making our episodes last week great. It was the first time on YouTube alone. I'm not talking Facebook because our views always kill it on Facebook. We always get a tremendous amount of Facebook views. There's a great JC Allen's joining on YouTube. The millions and millions and millions. Shout out to JC. We love JC. Great stuff at Bucs Game Day. Does the Pirate Parlay podcast for the Sick Media Network. So JC's unmatched in Bucs coverage, and I know he's amped. He's going to Monday Night Raw this coming Monday, and you got the Royal Rumble in town on Saturday. So a lot of things. I was trying to make it. It fell through, sadly. Me and Joey couldn't make it down, but I know JC and all the Tampa Bay boys are excited for the Royal Rumble. But nonetheless, the Bucs, 5 candidates knowingly this far. Again, knowingly, these are the ones that have been reported to either have an interview lined up or reported that there could be interest amongst him. You got Kellen Moore, the former offensive coordinator for the Chargers, former offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. You got Glenn Dorsey, former Buffalo Bills quarterback coach, and then promoted to offensive coordinator for a couple of seasons before he got shown the door. You got a couple others as well. In-house candidate Tad Lewis was in the NFL, played QB for the Bills, went to Duke, spent a good amount of time at Duke in college, and then joined Bruce Arians' staff with the Bucs as an assistant. Last year got promoted to quarterbacks coach. We saw what Tad Lewis was able to do with Baker Mayfield last season. Zach Robinson, quarterbacks coach for the Rams, and he's a really bright young mind, and he's going to get a chance there. And then last but not least, we got the Eagles' former offensive coordinator as well. He's lined up for an interview. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people put him last on the list of candidates, even behind Glenn Dorsey. And that could be good, bad, better, worse, right, wrong, and different. And that young man is Brian Johnson, only in his mid-30s. So, you know, a lot of young minds are bringing in, no real old guys. And we're going to get into the good, bad, and the ugly with having a defensive coordinator, head coach, and all that good stuff when the great J-Lo joins in a matter of minutes. But once again, shout out to everybody, because last week, and not talking Facebook, not talking Apple, Spotify, all that stuff, because our Facebook views are really, really good. We always get lots and lots of Facebook views. Our Facebook people really love us. But YouTube, it's a tricky game. Last week, every episode we had on YouTube, all three of our Lions shows, as the great J-Lo joins, we'll bring him in here shortly, but want to thank the audience, because last week, all three of our Lions shows on YouTube got into the triple digits, every single one of them. So that was great. That was incredible. We had a couple of great guests last week, and even though we lost, make sure to go check those out still, as they're on our YouTube, they're on our Apple, Spotify, Google, and so much more. We had 3 shows for the Lions week last week, the NFC divisional round, and we had some great guests. We had Port Richie Lou in the house, Buccaneers motivator, lifelong Bucs fan, great guy there. And from the Big Rican on Sports podcast, we had Mike Martinez, Baker Mayfield fan and analyst, join the show as well. So that was a lot of fun last week. Again, incredible shows last week, huge numbers. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. It's really incredible. It was a really fun 2023. Thanks to everybody who helped the Buccaneers grow. But we're not really going to recap 2023 Bucs or our podcast in this show. That'll come Sunday. Sunday morning is going to be our Tampa Bay Buccaneers award show for the 2023 season, for the players, for the staff, for the front office, and for the podcast of the Buccaneers itself. Our guest we had on Sunday will be a fun one. Time to be announced, but that'll be Sunday, 2023 award show here on the Buccaneers. Not only for the Buccaneers, but the media, our podcast, other podcasts. We're going to do it all here on Sunday. Tonight is going to be more of an offensive coordinator special. A goodbye to Dave Canales, who's already pissing me off, by the way. We'll get into that. Huge Dave Canales guy. Nothing but respect for the guy. And those morons saying, oh, he's a traitor, he's a turncoat, this and that. Not really. Who would pass up a 6-year job offer for one of only 32 jobs out there that is the highest ranked level possible for being a football coach? We're not talking about a JUCO, which is still great. We're not talking about a high school head coach, which is still great. Dave Canales got offered one of 32 head coaching jobs in the National Football League, and you can't pass that up. Look what happened to Byron Leftwich when he passed it up. Now he's sitting on his couch. If you're a head coach ever, whether it's for 5 weeks or whether it's for 5 years or whether it's for 10 years, you're always going to have a job waiting for you in the world of college football or in the NFL, whether it's as little as an offensive consultant or as high as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. Whenever you're the head coach at the highest level, job opportunities will await you for the rest of your life. So, Dave Canales, you did the right thing for you, my friend, and you're going to benefit yourself financially and professionally with all that knowledge, tutelage, and experience you're about to get as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. The great J-Lo joins us. J-Lo, how the hell are you? Happy Friday. Sad to see the season end, but it really was a magical ride. It really was a great journey. And to be all honest, this was one of the first seasons in a while. When it ended, I was mad, I was upset, I was disappointed, because anytime you're within that striking distance to get to the Super Bowl, it really does stink. But at the end of the day, we really came together. We really overachieved, and we had a hell of a year, and that's showing by the Carolina Panthers hiring Dave Canales as their head coach. J-Lo, thoughts on any of that? And welcome in, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Tones. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, they exceeded my expectations, man. Not only just winning the division, hosting a playoff game, but also coming away with the playoff victory. So that to me was huge as a Bucs fan. So, 23, it was a fun season. I'm looking forward to the next season when it comes down to it. Now we move on, searching for a new offensive coordinator. Dave Canales, I'm happy for him. As much as I hate him going to a division rival, and I'm going to have to hate him for like 2 weeks out of the year. You can't blame a man for taking the job that probably won't come around again. You never know. This guy was motivated after Pete Carroll passed him so many times, offensive coordinator. And it doesn't surprise me the Panthers selected him because I don't think many coaches were probably interested, but, that's a different discussion. But at the end of the day, he made the decision what's best for him and his family. So now go on to Carolina. I hope that owner gets him at least 3 years to get his team in shape. And
He'll get at least 3, if not more, because J-Lo, how could they afford to can a guy? So they've already had 4 head coaches in their past 2 years, right?
that's correct. And that's why it's hard for me to really believe in that.
And we do have a little bit of a breaking news here, not to interrupt you, J-Lo, but we do have breaking news out of Carolina, and they are parting ways with their interim head coach and special teams coordinator, Chris Tabor. So Dave Canales' first big move coming into Carolina is relieving their interim head coach / special teams coordinator of his duties.
That's just the way it goes. New coach, he's going to pick his own staff, and best of luck to him. I just don't trust David Tepper, man. It's hard to work for a guy like that. And that's why hopefully Dave will get his fair share in putting his team together. We'll wait and see on that. Now we're on a searching for a new offensive coordinator, back to square one. But you got to applaud Todd Bowles, man. He hired a head coach from last year.
He started his own coaching tree. How hard is that to do, right? Not everybody could say that. Now Todd Bowles can.
He can. I mean, you got to give the man props. So that's why I'm comfortable with him. Find another offensive coordinator that's going to hopefully get our team, up and moving. Maybe even be better than Dave Canales. Because let's all admit, Dave Canales wasn't the best offensive coordinator, but he was a good one. I felt we could build upon him.
And I think he could even be a better head coach than an OC. And he was a good OC, not a great one yet. I think he could have been there. But J-Lo, I think he's one of those guys, you look at him, and exactly right. We could replace him, right? It's not going to be impossible to replace him because it's not like he was the second coming of Christ. But at the same time, I feel like he's going to be a hell of a head coach the way he talks, motivates, and leads.
I mean, he was a position coach for a long time between quarterbacks and receivers, so I think he'll fit right in the bill. He'll probably take Brad Isaac with him, which is fine. That's his running buddy. It's always good to have somebody you trust. So it'll be a good start. And, let's see what Dave Canales has got. Let's see if he can go in there and turn that, franchise around and help Bryce Young because he's a good quarterback developer. He's developed, he's helped regain 2 quarterbacks, in the NFL.
Yeah, I see a couple of things and, a couple of opinions. And like we've talked about J-Lo Idzik before, it looks like he may be on his way to Carolina as well, as you have said. And that might not be the last plucking either, right? We might see a little bit more plucking from the Bucs tree, or Canales might dip into Seattle like Shane Waldron's doing with all those assistants open as well. And the first step to that, get rid of one-year coordinators. And Dave Canales did just that, getting rid of interim head coach and special teams coordinator Chris Tabor. And I thought he should have retained him. I know it's hard to work with outside guys, especially former head coaches, but he was an interim coach. He did a pretty decent job for Carolina, and he was a pretty good special teams coordinator. So I'm kind of happy that they relieved him of his duties over in Carolina. But we're going to keep talking about the Dave Canales thing and the offensive coordinator search. As I said, Sunday, join us. We're going to do more of our season recap there and our award show over there. But J-Lo, real quick, goodbye, Dave Canales. We're going to give him our goodbyes now. Thoughts on his exit? Anything that you wish could have went different in his tenure? Do you wish we could have retained him? Or, any hard feelings? And one other thing. His Twitter's been very active. It's always been kind of active, but now that when he took the OC role, he increased his Twitter activity with the Bucs. Then when he took the Panthers head coaching job, he's already tweeting more and more. And he said, time to be nice is over. Seems like he's going to act a little more pissed off. And that's already pissing me off a little bit, right? Don't overstep yourself, Dave. You're liking things about taking Mike Evans to Carolina. I know you're the former Bucs coach, but you're not going to get Mike Evans. J-Lo, thoughts on the whole Canales situation in general?
Honestly, I feel like it was too soon. I feel like he needed another year or two as a play caller on offense. But like I said, you only get a one chance life opportunity, and he took it. His cockiness is building because, he's climbed the ladder pretty quickly. But as far as the Mike Evans going to Carolina, Panther fans, go to sleep on that because he's not going to Carolina.
No.
He's not going to that dumpster fire.
They're not going to be ready to win for at least 2 years, in my opinion. Sure, they might get 4 or 5 wins the next couple of years, but I'm talking a legit playoff threat.
No, they won't be. They got a lot of building to do with their offensive line. They need a running back. They need a true number one receiver, a number one tight end. I mean, they need a lot of things, and they don't have a first. They don't have a first round pick because they traded away for Bryce Young. So I mean, there's just so many building blocks for this guy, and he can go ahead and keep saying, keep pounding, whatever. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Trust me, Dave, you don't want the smoke, man. You're going to get the smoke whenever we play you. And we're going to make you realize that maybe you might have jumped ship a little too soon there, buddy.
And Todd Bowles will know his offense like a dang book now, right? Todd Bowles will absolutely look.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Canales might be a little familiar with Bowles now, but Canales being the OC, it's not like he was studying our defense that much, right? It would do him no good to do that. So, yeah, he might have gained a little info and a little knowledge through the past year, not even year, through the past 11 months, I should say, with the Bucs. But at the end of the day, J-Lo, Todd Bowles gained a hell of a lot more knowledge on Canales being the head coach, not really putting his foot down in the offense, but surely looking over his shoulder being that head coach and making sure things are going the right direction. I like our coaching advantage heading into next year, and who would have thought? I've been a Bowles guy. Podcast has advocated for Bowles, but if you said a year ago that Todd Bowles was going to be the best coach in our division heading into next season, J-Lo, you'd be smiling, or you would think we're crazy, nuts, or lying, something along those lines. But I like the position that Todd Bowles has put himself in the NFC South, having knowledge on Canales, having Dennis Allen's number. We're going to get into the Atlanta situation here in a little bit, but all signs point to up for Todd Bowles being the coach of the NFC South for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, and also we're going to be in a more attractable franchise when it comes to bringing a new offensive coordinator in. They're going to have faith in Todd Bowles because Bowles is going to be a fair shot. He's going to let you, run the offense the way you want to run it. So there's a lot of positives to it. There's some negatives. Losing Dave Canales was a tough one, but also Bowles seems to be he's pretty good at finding the right offensive guy to go in there and run the offense. And I got a few names we'll get to later, we can throw out there. But at the end of the day, we have become an attractable franchise where players will want to come here, even without Tom Brady. So I think Bowles will get it done, whether we promote within or go outside. I'm not stressing too much on Dave Canales anymore. I said what I needed to say yesterday. Now you are our rival. And
Unfollowed rival. It's on.
I unfollowed him, so you can mark me down. I don't wish you bad on, but you went to a division rival, so yeah, there's no way in hell I'm gonna follow you anymore with that keep pounding garbage.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, once it's like Jameis, right? Once he left, he became an enemy. And sadly, you got to just cut the cord loose sometimes. JLo, we talked about it briefly with Idzik, and he's a great chance to be Canales' offensive coordinator or prominent role over there in Carolina, be the Canales puppet. They lived together this past offseason when Canales was settling in with his family to Tampa. He actually moved with Idzik, moved in with him for a little bit. They talked about that. Canales trying to let his kids finish school before moving him down to Tampa, so he had some time in the Idzik household. Just assume Canales does pluck him. Offensively, defensively, special teams wise, do you see any other people really getting a chance to pluck in people? And JC Allen says, your boy broke the news. Yeah, JC, you're one of the best there is, brother. And you did break the Idzik news. You did break the news on that, and you broke the news on a good amount of things over the course of the past year. So thank you for that. You had some UDF, or you had some future roster signing news breakers as well. So everybody followed the great JC Allen for that. But JLo, you see anyone else getting plucked from the staff of Dave Canales?
Not really. I don't think so. I think Brad is the only one I can think of on the offense side of the ball. Maybe on defense, maybe he might try to plug one of our co-defensive coordinators. But I just don't see them leaving Todd Bowles. I think they're too loyal to him to leave unless, they offer a good payday. But I don't think so. I think Brad is the only one I can see that I can see jumping ship and going to go help develop this offense in Carolina with Dave. And plus there's a lot of Seattle assistant coaches that are leaving Seattle because they're looking for a new head coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if he plucks somebody on the defense side of the ball in Seattle.
Between him, Shane Waldron, and possibly Dan Quinn, if he lands either the Seattle or Washington gig, as he has interviews again lined up with both. I believe it'll be his third with Washington, second with Seattle. That Seattle tree is going to get bare naked quick between Waldron and the Bears. He's already picking off Seattle assistants. Canales is surely going to do the same. Dan Quinn would surely do the same as well. And yeah, I think after Idzik, it might be one or two lesser guys potentially that Canales plucks, but I don't think it'll be anything significant. I think he takes more from the Seattle guys. But I do think if Idzik leaves, assuming he leaves, there will be one or two more to follow on one of the three phases of the ball. Lesser names, of course, but if you're a first-time head coach, you got to get guys that you're familiar with, not all the time, but a lot of the time, to surround yourself with the right people, get them to buy in, and that gives your team the best chance at success over there. And J-Lo, speaking of people leaving, speaking of hot commodities, excuse me, the great Thad Lewis is getting looked at around the league. He is getting looked at in Vegas as the offensive coordinator potentially down there, and he's getting looked at in Buffalo as the offensive coordinator potentially over there. He is a former Buffalo Bill as well. So Tad Lewis getting looked at around the league, and this will kind of lead us into our 5 candidate coordinator talk to this point. Thoughts on Tad Lewis getting looks around the league? And surely, J-Lo, if the Raiders and the Bills are looking at him, the Buccaneers have either A, already done so and just keeping it tight-lipped, or B, are surely to do so at some point, perhaps, to keep continuity going.
No, agreed. I mean, you got to applaud Bruce Arians on that one, bringing that Lewis in and getting him going. That's from his coaching tree, if you ask me. But that Lewis, he's a young, upcoming future head coach, possibly offensive coordinator. He would be an interesting one in-house at Baltimore to sit there in-house because he already knows, what he's capable of and the relationship he had with Baker Mayfield. To me, it's all about bringing in or keeping one of our guys that is close with Baker Mayfield. That would be an attractive spot for him to come
If you
back.
want to retain Baker, you got to do that almost, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's our quarterback, man. The dude is a baller. He's a dog. And now that Canales is gone, we got to find somebody that's going to be attracted to him. And plus, here's the way I see it. if to keep Baker, you got to find the right coach he'll feel comfortable with, most likely. Option and plus, Mike Evans. The only way I see him coming back at this point, because I know there's going to be some teams contending for him in free agency. Baker can convince him to come back, but first we need to get the offensive coordinator situation situated fast. Hopefully, this won't be a long process like last year. Hopefully, it'll be more of a shorter process, and we get the guy in there to start looking at draft prospects, try to recruit Baker, might try to get them back. Pretty much giving them their take on how the offense is going to look. That's why hopefully if we do go outside, hopefully somebody that's similar to Canales' system that Baker, Mike, and all them are familiar with too. That's the only major downfall about losing Canales, because now you got to go out there and take a chance on another coordinator, even if we promote that Lewis, because he'll end up knowing two systems between Bruce Arians and a little bit of Dave Canales. And I really don't want to go back to the Bruce Arians system for Baker. I don't think he's fit for that.
Yeah, although Bruce did love Baker, and that's why him and the Browns connections were maybe there back in the day. I don't think he necessarily fit Bruce's system well, although his deep ball did get better as the year went on. But I want a system that does try and develop the run a little bit, especially with a guy like Rashad White. Like Canales' system seemed to fit perfect, especially towards the end. We did get a couple of words from one of our friends on the Mike Evans situation who does have a source close to the situation. And he put the Evans thing as such. He pretty much said that before the season started, Evans had the possibility of only going to two other places. Let me see the exact wording, the exact terminology of it, but it said Mike Evans really only has a chance to go to one other place. Panthers aren't one of them, allegedly. He said his source is good and 100%. If I had to guess, a team was never listed, but I would guess the Texans are probably that other team in play. And, there was maybe one more at the beginning of the year. There's definitely one, at the most two. The other one would only probably be the Chiefs or Cowboys to me. But he's going to stay on the Bucs. I'm not even worried about it. Olivia said he better stay on the Bucs. He surely will. He's not going anywhere. Not even really worth giving the time of topic to. I think there's a 90 to 95% chance he's a Buccaneer next year. I don't really see that changing. Losing Canales wouldn't really affect Evans' departure because he's been through so many offensive coordinators. What's it to Evans to lose a guy he's only been with for 1 year? So I don't think Canales departing has a play on Evans staying or not. Surely Todd Bowles and Jason Light, even Baker Mayfield for that matter, are more factors of Evans staying or going. So I think Evans stays. I think Baker gravitates back to us because regardless if he goes elsewhere, he's going to have to learn a whole new system. The only way I see Baker leaving is if Mike leaves. Maybe then Baker will leave, but I don't get why he would. He built a good foundation here in Tampa, built a good fan base, and that's why I like Tad Lewis a lot, because he could keep that continuity going a little bit at least, right? He can mix both offenses around a little bit. So, J-Lo, I like the Tad Lewis one. We're going to get into the other candidates here now as well. Rams quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson is also a candidate. But real quick, Tad Lewis's full resume. He was a 9-year player in the NFL. He played with the Rams, the Browns, the Lions, the Bills, the Texans, the Eagles, the Niners, and the Ravens. As a coach, he was an offensive analyst at UCLA, then the Bucs assistant wide receivers coach from 2021 to 2022, and the quarterbacks coach starting in 2023. So Tad Lewis has a pretty deep resume there, played his college ball at Duke. From one candidate to another, as we are going to go over the 5 confirmed candidates to this point. Zach Robinson, J-Lo, currently the quarterbacks coach for the St. Louis Rams, the LA Rams. He's also their passing game coordinator. Before that, he was their assistant QB's coach. Before that, their assistant wide receivers coach. And before that, there's assistant QB's coach as well. As a player, he was with the Patriots, Seahawks, Lions, and Bengals, 7th-round pick out of Oklahoma State. So he has a pretty good resume as well. J-Lo, thoughts on Zach Robinson? This would be my second choice behind Tad Lewis.
He would be somebody I strongly consider, even over Thad Lewis. I really like this young and upcoming guy.
And he has familiarity with Baker as well.
Yes, he does. Familiarity, and he runs pretty much the same system as Dave Canales, from what I've been told. And I like that Lewis. Don't get me wrong. I would be totally happy with that Lewis. But if I had to pick, I'd rather go with Zach Robinson. He is my top choice out of the candidates on the list that we saw today. And you never know. I think, honestly, he'll end up going to Atlanta. I can see Raheem Morris pulling him over there to run the offense, and which would be scary in my opinion, but that's another conversation. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But he would be my top choice. I think he'd be a great fit, another young, upcoming coordinator who I think can do just as well, maybe even better than Dave Canales. He's under the Sean McVay tree. I mean, Sean McVay tree looks pretty hot right now if you see the head coaching world right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, as Bucs Nation says, my guys, wave and sign, pray and sign. How the hell are you, Bucs Nation? Thanks for joining the show. Love the long.
Nation.
Exactly. J-Lo and I express our gratitude. Love that long sleeve, man. Shake and bake. Yes, sir. Shake and bake. The Baker long sleeve is out. My campaigning to re-sign Baker and Evans is back as I put Godwin and Evans on my wall now. So maybe Evans will realize, hey, I don't want to leave my man Chris Godwin. Got Logan Hall out here saying, hey, don't leave this defense behind. So I'm fully campaigning to get these guys back, to get them back. Speaking of campaigning, all these offensive coordinator candidates are going to do their best campaign job to get the Bucs position. And we've already discussed Tad Lewis, Zach Robinson. That leads us to candidate number 3, J-Lo, Brian Johnson, who, again, a young man who has playing experience. So this is the third young candidate and third candidate with playing experience. His isn't as elusive as a playing career as a Tad Lewis, who played 9 years in the NFL at quarterback, or Zach Robinson, who played 5 years in the NFL at quarterback. But Brian Johnson did play at Utah for 5 seasons in college, then played for the New York Sentinels for 1 season. Then he has an extensive coaching background. He was Utah's quarterbacks coach from 2010 to 2011. He was their offensive coordinator from 2012 to 13. Mississippi State's quarterback coach in 14 to 16. Houston's offensive coordinator and QB's coach in 17. Florida, your beloved Florida Gators QB's coach in 18 and 19, got promoted to their offensive coordinator in 2020. Then he was the Eagles quarterbacks coach in 21 and 22 with the son of Jalen Hurts. Started getting coordinator interviews last year, interviewed with the Bucs last year, actually, before ultimately losing out on the job to Dave Canales. Well, not losing out because he took the Eagles OC job and told the Bucs no thanks. But now he's interviewing again as he got fired by the Eagles. Listen, nothing against this guy, nice guy, decent background, but a couple things. Concerning how many college and NFL places he's been doing that little of time, and he's not just continuously moving up the ladder, right? He's bouncing around from QB coach to offensive coordinator to QB coach to offensive coordinator to QB coach to offensive coordinator, right? He keeps bopping around from QB coach to offensive coordinator at the college and pro level. So J-Lo, a little concern there. He does have an extensive coaching background, but the Eagles ended the year brutal. We saw their offense to end the year. I know they were heavily banged up, heavily injured, and a little bit hindered with guys like A.J. Brown's attitude, but little to be desired there. Ended up getting third prized and fired in Philadelphia. I don't have much to say about the Brian Johnson train outside of the fact that he's not a terrible coach. I would love him if he's anything less than an offensive coordinator, right? I'd love him if he's anything from a QB coach to a wide receiver coach, something along those lines. But fact of the matter is, right now, out of the 5 known candidates, he's option number 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I loved him at Florida. I think he did a great job developing Kyle Trask, who's very familiar with. And to me, he's just a good QB coach, just to sit behind the quarterback, work with them. I think even if he doesn't land an offensive coordinator job, which I think will not happen, I could see him going taking a QB coach job again. I think he has some good mechanics, and I can't put it all on him last season because there's a lot of turmoil in that locker room. That's a bit shoe to fill in because Philadelphia was the runner up for the Super Bowl last year, and then he had to step in for Shane Steichen, on the offense side of the ball. But he's definitely at the bottom of the list. I liked him last year when the Bucs talked to him. He was a pretty tough choice for me. But now, after watching him on the bid stage, I just don't think he's ready, and he probably won't be one. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's funny. John Morris 94 JJ from Twitter just tweeted at the show. Brian Johnson is a big no from me. So, a couple people listening out there have the same thoughts as we do, J-Lo's. My man Fabricio El Monito is joining the program on Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Feel Good Friday, this Friday night. Great time to be alive and go over the offensive coordinator candidates. It's 3 out of 5 we've been over now, and they all have something in common, right, J-Lo? They've all played, and they're all in their mid-30s, mid-30s for sure. So a lot of intrigue there between playing careers and being in their mid-30s to lower 40s, all young minds. Speaking of lower 40s, the next candidate we're going to talk about is Ken Dorsey. He was a college football player at Miami. Again, round 7 pick, former quarterback, played with the 49ers from 03 to 05, the Browns from 06 to 08, the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL in 2010, Carolina Panthers QB's coach from 13 to 17, Buffalo Bills QB's coach from 19 to 20, passing game coordinator in 2021, offensive coordinator from 22 to 23, was a pro scout executive with the Panthers from 2011 to 2012, was an assistant athletic director at Florida International in 2018. Pretty extensive resume, pretty good resume, really good coordinator for the Bills last year, not so much this year. Bills happened to get a lot better after his dismissal, J-Lo. I love his background, love his resume, love his passion for the game, but it concerns me he was fired by the Bills and they got a lot better last season. I don't know if that was just a motivational thing or what, but I'd put him at candidate number 4 for me. I like his scheming. I like his play call ability, but his failure to impact such a team as Buffalo last year concerns me a little bit. And for that reason, I'm putting him as candidate number 4 out of 5 for the 5 no and offensive coordinator candidates at this time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I would put him at 4. I'm not a big fan of his. I just don't think he was that good. I like his passion and his thrive. I remember the frustration with the papers flying, I think, last year, which was pretty funny. But for him to get fired mid-season and the Bills got better is really concerning. I feel like he lost the locker room. He lost the offense.
And that's a great point, quick, J-Lo. He was the one with the world-famous gif last year in the press box throwing all his shit all over the place.
Hey, I get it. It's stressful. It's stressful being a play caller because you're taking all the heat, and then also Stephon Diggs, has
It's
some
kind of like
problems.
being an umpire too, right? When you do bad, you get noticed, but when you do good, it's you're expected to do that.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I think he'll land another offensive coordinator job because there's tons of them available right now in the NFL. So whether he lands here or he goes somewhere else, I think he'll get another opportunity. He wasn't the worst, but he's definitely not my top choice, and I'll put him at 4 over Brian Johnson just because of his play calling experience. So put him at 4 for me. If we get him, I mean, the only thing I can think of is his experience being a play caller, which Bulls would want, and he probably wouldn't be a top choice for a head coaching candidate next year either.
So we have the same exact list so far. We each listed, well, no, I think you put Robinson 1 and Tad
Yeah.
Lewis 2, and I
Yeah.
put Tad Lewis 1 and Robinson 2, but then we each have Brian Johnson as 5, and then we each have um, uh, Ken Dorsey is 4, And that brings us to our default 3. And again, 5 guys have been confirmed, J-Lo, as candidates for the job. And that's why we're going over these 5. Then after this, we'll give one outside thought each of a potential name we'd like to see brought in. Because surely over tonight, over Saturday, over Sunday, we're going to hear more names pop up, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether it's rumors or reality. That's just the way it is. But candidate number 3 on our list, Kellen Moore. And again, same exact profile, J-Lo. All of these guys have the same profile. Playing career as a quarterback, mid-30s to lower 40s in age, and then they've had a pretty extensive coaching background. So Kellen Moore is 35 years old. He played at Boise State for 5 seasons. He was undrafted. He played on the Lions from 2012 to 2014. Then he was on the Cowboys from 2015 to 17. Then J-Lo, I remember he set a trend. It doesn't happen often, but you see it sometimes now with guys like him or, Davis Webb, another backup QB around the league. But if you're a backup, sometimes they'll offer you a coaching gig. He transitioned from playing for the Cowboys to coaching from the Cowboys. 2018, he was their quarterbacks coach. From 19 to 22, he was the Cowboys offensive coordinator. 2023 was the Chargers OC. They left little to be desired over there, but I don't mind Kellen Moore. I like his scheme. I like what he did in Dallas a lot. I liked him as a player. He was a smart player, a gritty player. To me, he did a lot of good things with Dak Prescott in his time with the Cowboys, and he's gotten some head coaching interest as well. I know he's interviewed with the Chargers for their head coaching gig. I know a couple other places last offseason, but J-Lo, thoughts on Kellen Moore as that rounds out the list of the 5 known Bucs offensive coordinator candidates at this time?
No, he's one I wouldn't mind having. He's somebody that has plenty of experience under the lights in big games when he came to Dallas. I think he was actually really good with Dak, in my opinion. I know Cowboys fans probably won't agree with me, but I think he got the best out of Dak, over the years when he was there.
Agreed.
And then Justin Herbert, 1 year, it's not really fair to judge on that because the head coach was a moron. He got fired and, things went downhill. And plus, he had nothing to work with. I mean, the Chargers had injury-prone receivers. So you got to look at those things. When it comes to the players that he got dealt with, Austin Eckler, he probably could have done better, but he was a crybaby over money. I mean, that's another story.
Eckler's a man. He's a hell of a player, but his attitude is just getting worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's making it to be like he's just going to be a has-been, what coulda, shoulda, woulda. But back to Kellen Moore, I wouldn't mind him at all. I think if he would come to this roster, I think him and Bate can develop a good relationship.
And this has been a guy you've had your eyes on for a while. If you guys have listened to the Buccaneers at all or, have followed J-Lo on X, Kellen Moore's been a name you've mentioned before.
Yes, I did like him a lot last year. He was actually one of my top choices, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there were so many choices I had, but he was definitely one of my top choices. But when he chose LA, I couldn't blame him. He went to try to go coach Justin Herbert, and then him coming here where there's no guarantees who our quarterback was going to be. So I think a second time around wouldn't be a bad idea. I think he would come here, and I wouldn't mind having him. If he don't, and he's like Ken Dorsey. If he don't get the job here, he's going to get an offensive coordinator job somewhere else. Someone will hire him as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, give me Kellen Moore, give me Zach Robinson, or even Thad Lewis, who's already in our organization already. Those are probably my top 3 out of all from what I see on the list. And I'm pretty sure there's gonna be more names on there. I just hope the process doesn't take forever. Hopefully it'll be a quick process.
Yeah, and we have more breaking news out of Carolina as J-Lo. We talked about Canales and the likelihood of him plucking some Bucs or Seattle staff members. And as the minutes go by, that's more and more likely as he let Chris Tabor go. And now he's letting one of the most respected offensive line coaches in the game go. Ian Rappaport says 7 minutes ago, as often happens when new coaches take over. The Panthers have informed offensive line coach James Campen that he's been let go. Source said one of the league's most respected teachers, Campen, could find work quickly. Real quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Canales' team.
NFC South is shaking up, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. But there is one name I want to throw out there in Carolina, just since we're talking about it. If Canales was smart, he would try everything he can to retain their defensive coordinator. Because Carolina,
yep.
You know, if he retains him, then Canales will have some, help there on the defense side of the ball, and him going outside the organization. So I think if he was smart, he would try to retain him, maybe give him a little raise for being top 5. I think they were top 5, the 3rd overall defense in the league.
And that's who I ultimately thought they might have hired outright as their head coach, right? When they got Dan Morgan, I might have thought, hey, he's a defensive mind. He has familiarity with Evaro as well, who's one of the bright young defensive minds in the game. But J-Lo, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's a great point. If they could retain him, absolute home run for Canales. Let him handle the defense. You have a bright young mind over there. You get your Pupik Idzik from your former team on your staff as well. J-Lo, give us a thorough explanation and thought real quick on not any of the 5 we mentioned, but if you can name one outside guy that's not on the Bucs radar as of yet, none of the 5 we went through, who would it be for the offensive coordinator role and why?
I would say give me Clint Kubiak. He had a pretty good interview last year with us. I think we interviewed him twice, if I'm not mistaken, last year. He would be somebody I wouldn't mind having, another young mind, guy who's been involved with the game as well, with a good resume, in my opinion. I would have thrown Cliff Kingsbury, but you know what? I don't know about that one. I think he's going to go to a more contending team. But I say definitely give me Clint Kubiak, another one I wouldn't mind bringing in for an interview to kind of help push it. I mean, I would take him over Ken Dorsey and Brian Johnson if you ask me on Clint Kubiak.
And the nice thing with Clint Kubiak, his dad, very successful in the NFL, Super Bowl winning coach, Gary Kubiak. He has him to lean on for the knowledge and the tutelage of coaching and whatnot. And he's actually coaching right now at St. Paul High School. He's an coaching advisor at Panthers Wrocław. It's a high school, so good for him. Or they're in Poland. So that's interesting. Gary Kubiak is an advisor for a Poland football team, which is kind of cool. And then Clint Kubiak, I don't mind that at all, J-Lo, and we interviewed him last year as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that name surface. I do want to say a couple of things. It's a vicious cycle when you're a defense or special teams head coach, right? Because you're going to hire a good offensive mind, and, well, maybe not a good one, but one of 3 things happen when you're a defense or special teams minded head coach. You're going to hire an offensive coordinator. They're going to be so fucking good, or at least adequate enough, like Dave Canales was, and they're going to get hired for a head coach elsewhere, and you're going to lose them after 1 year, and then the process is on repeat every single season. Look at Mike Vrabel. He went through 2 to 4 offensive coordinators in his time with Tennessee. Hell of a coach, but couldn't keep up with the coordinator game. He got shown the door. Or scenario number 2, you're going to hire an offensive coordinator. The defense or special teams is going to stink. You're going to miss the playoffs. They're going to do so good, and they're going to take your head coaching gig, kind of like Dirk Cutter did to Lovie Smith. Or option number 3 is you're going to try and hire an offensive coordinator like an AVP, a Frank Reich, an Eric Bieniemy, someone who's not threatening for your job, but maybe they're not going to get the job done. You guys flat out stink, and everyone gets canned. So it's kind of a lose-lose-lose for a guy like Todd Bowles, J-Lo, and that's the only scary thing about all those young minds. All 5 of those candidates, and even the one you mentioned, Clint Kubiak, any of those 6, if the Bucs make, say, the championship round or the Super Bowl next year and our offense is great, they're just going to get poached as well. And I'll complain till the fucking grave about the dumb rule for, if you groom a minority coach, you're supposed to get draft picks out of it if they were coaching for your team. for at least 2 years. How does that make sense? J-Lo, thoughts on that? Dave Canales, Mexican-American, minority. Bucs did a great job at grooming him, and the Bucs do the best in the league at bringing in minority coaches. And we don't get a draft pick only because we had him for 1 year. If it wasn't for the Bucs grooming Canales, he would never be a head coach right now. Real quick thoughts on that, J-Lo.
That rule should be changed. I think that's so dumb. After 1 year with the cap space we had to deal with, all the controversy of learning new on the fly, and we don't get daily squat, which I think is not right. I think that should be only to like 1 year instead of two. It made no sense because we can't control what that coach wants to do. If he wants to go coach after 1 year, take the bigger job, how can we stop that? So I think we should be compensated a third round draft pick for that.
Mm-hmm.
Easy said and done.
I agree with that. I think that's how it should be as well. Absolutely. Yeah, the Bucs deserve to be rewarded for that, and kind of bullshit how now we lose our OC and don't get a pick for that or rewarded for that. Just kind of crazy. And I'll give one OC name off the top of my head who I wouldn't mind bringing in for at least a look, for at least an interview, and that's Brian Greasy. I know he's been getting interviewed by a couple people for offensive coordinator. He's San Fran's quarterbacks coach. Currently, J-Lo, he's 48, so a little bit older than the rest. He was the Bucs quarterback back in the day, and he's been on San Fran's staff since 2022. Used to be in the broadcast booth, so good knowledge of the game. I wouldn't mind if the Bucs brought good old Brian Greasy in for at least an interview. I would throw him third, right up there with the Clint Kubiaks of the world or whatnot. So I think J-Lo and I make compelling, bring up of candidates to at least add to the list. If you had a Kubiak and a Greasy, can't really go wrong there, in my opinion. As we have more breaking news out of college, kind of expected, but Michigan has promoted offensive coordinator Sharon Moore to their head coaching role. J-Lo, he took over for Harbaugh when they needed him in Harbaugh's suspension. Thoughts on that, J-Lo? I know it's kind of obvious that was going to shake out like that and the cake would bake like that.
Nah, good for him, man. He ran the team really well, and Jim Harbaugh's absence during his suspensions, and plus it gives them better chance of keeping their recruits after losing Harbaugh, because that's very important. You don't want to lose your top recruits over that. So I think that was a good choice, and he earned it. He earned to become the head coach. We'll see what he does the first couple of years, because he's going to be competing against Ohio State every year. And then plus, Penn State is another challenge. You have to take on. You can't recount Penn State out. When it comes to close football games. So I like his chances. I think he'll be fine. And it's kind of like David Shaw when he took over Stanford for Jim Harbaugh.
It's crazy you mention. It's crazy you mention him, J-Lo, because I'm about to mention him in a minute. But finish your thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good hire. I think he'll do a good job, kind of similar to what David Shaw did in Stanford. Because Shaw lasted a long time when he took over for Jim Harbaugh. So I think it could be the same scenario for this offensive coordinator that got promoted. So congrats and well deserved.
Again, Michigan football national champions on the college level, promoting interim head coach Sharon Moore from this regular season to their official head coach, so they move on quickly. And I know they would add interest in the Washington coach who went to Bama as well, so he was a hot commodity. If you got Michigan and Bama on your tail, you're doing something right. Real quick, J-Lo, before we get to our Sunday episode preview and final words of the program, brother. Thoughts on Raheem Morris getting a look to be the Falcons head coach? He was their head coach in 2020 via the interim label. The end of the year went 4-7, so not the first time he's the head coach of the Falcons. Thoughts on Raheem's reunion in Atlanta and seeing not only him in the NFC South, but now you got him, Dave Canales. You might even have John Gruden. I mean, you do have John Gruden because he's on the same staff as a consultant already, but he might get promoted to a higher offensive role. Thoughts on all these ex-Bucs coaches getting all these roles in the NFC South?
I'm proud of Raheem. I hated him for a long time when he coached for us because I felt like he was our besties with the players. which tends to happen when you're a young head coach. But I'm happy for him now. I think he's matured over the years, earned his way up, and he's gonna have a good defense to take over. I mean, he's gonna do good. I think he's gonna be a threat. I really do. The only thing he needs to do now is go get a Zach Robinson, somebody he's familiar with, and actually get a legit quarterback, either in free agency or the draft. And Atlanta can be contenders right up there with us in New Orleans. So, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of hoping they went to Belichick's old ass, but you know what? Good for them. Good for Raheem. It's gonna make our division better. We're gonna stop being the laughing stock in the NFL, saying our division is the worst, where I feel like it's not. Because realistically, New Orleans had a winning record, and if Green Bay would have lost, they would have had the final playoff spot. So you got to give credit when it's due on that for like a guy like Raheem Morris, who's come out from catastrophe, because the players did quit on him in 11. They were over him. They were like, hey, I'm done playing for this guy. I'm ready to go start golfing and all that stuff, or go on vacations. I just hope you don't bring up that Youngry crap again. That was that was ridiculous. I'm sorry. That little Youngry quote he brought back in the day.
The
But
Youngry Bucks, right? And then, he said too, stats are for losers. We're the best in the NFC. The year we ended up not making the playoffs at 10-6, losing with heartbreak to the Lions. And where Raheem really recrafted his tool shed was when he left the Bucks. He bounced around. He was always a defensive coach under Gruden, but then he learned the offensive side of the ball too, right? So he's not only a pure defensive brain, although that's what he's known for, but he's an offensive coach in years past too. So after he was the head coach in Tampa, he was a Redskins defensive backs coach from 12 to 14, then went to Atlanta to be the assistant head coach and passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach to learn offense. Then he was the interim head coach and defensive coordinator, kind of crazy for the Falcons in 2020, then went to the Rams to be their defensive coordinator as well, J-Lo. So kudos to him. Kudos to Canales. Maybe Idzik get in the Panthers OC role. Gruden maybe getting promoted in the Saints. Going to be the wild, wild Buccaneers life in the NFC South come 2024. And just a reminder, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time we go live. You could catch the show. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube today. We really appreciate it. You won't miss out on any of our great giveaways, like Bucs Nation just won a care package from us that he really loved. Look at his Twitter. He really loved it. J-Lo, final word for the show, for the program on this Feel Good Friday, and thoughts on the Sunday show when we do our 2023 Buccaneers and Buccaneers and Media Awards.
I mean, like and subscribe, people. And follow the individuals that are on this podcast. We're big Bucs fans. We love our team. We may disagree on things, on certain things, but we're a family. And we learn to talk it out.
When you got six of us, it's hard to agree on everything.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's what it's all about. Sometimes it's it's about competition. On what our knowledge is. And at the end of the day, we come together as a family, and we just refer our team from good to bad. I mean, from bad to good or good to bad. But I'm looking forward to Sunday. I got some thoughts on some awards. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be putting together a lot of things come Sunday. And then as far as tonight, I'm glad we get that off our chest with Dave Canales. Now we can officially turn the page and move on. He is now our enemy division opponent.
Unfollow him if you haven't yet. No, I'm kidding. That's up to you. But I agree, J-Lo.
Yeah, I mean, I unfollowed him because I'm not going to follow division rival coach. I did the same for Jameis. I didn't care for his take when he left because, believe me, he left a bad taste in my mouth the last time he ever threw a football in a Buccaneer uniform. But anyway, I'm excited for the offseason. We'll see, what moves, who we bring as offensive coordinator, what Jason Light. Hey, we got to keep Mike Greenberg. He's still sticking around, so he'll be able to help us, get the cap situated, and have faith, people. Have faith. We are 3 years in a row division champs, 4-time playoff contenders. And I feel like we're a very likable franchise right now to where players want to come play here. And that's a very big thing because we were lacking stuff for many years. And you gotta give Jason Light credit, man. I mean, he's brought some talent in before Brady. We just couldn't get the right coach, couldn't get the team together. So I have faith that Light will be able to make some moves, maybe shop a little more than a Dollar Tree signing, depending on the free agent market and what the asking price is. And, we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun this offseason doing mini shows. That's why we need y'all Buccaneer fans to come watch, throw your comments in there, and we'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, J-Lo, and great final words there, brother. Awesome feel-good Friday. Mine's going to be keep your eyes on Harbaugh, bringing in two of these names. One of them's an ex-Bucs quarterback. I could see David Shaw becoming his offensive coordinator in Los Angeles, or at least being an assistant head coach or something, J-Lo. That's one of my final words. I think that he'd be a great addition for Harbaugh's staff. You see him interviewing for head coaching jobs. So watch for that reuniting over there in LA. And also look out for Josh Johnson, former Bucs QB, former Harbaugh QB at San Diego State. Now, brother Harbaugh's QB for Baltimore, one of their backups. I could see him in a quarterback's coach role or assistant quarterback's coach role out there in LA as well, as Harbaugh looks to build an all-star staff, J-Lo. I think that'd be pretty wild. And then just reminder, tune in Sunday to the Buccaneers. It might be the offseason, but we're going to be coming at you more and more this offseason. Years past, there's only about 2 to 3 shows a month. We're going to be coming at you with specials. Remember, every Saturday of the draft, we go live to bring you day 3 coverage of the draft. We're going to be bringing you schedule release, free agency, so much more. J-Lo and Tampa Tones here on a feel-good Friday. Fire the damn cannons. J-Lo, it's been a great show, brother. I'll talk to you tonight, and I'll see you on Sunday, bro.
One more thing, Tones. Who'd you pick to win the Rumble tomorrow night?
Yeah, actually, wait. Vibes quick, as that is in Tampa. How silly of me. What are the vibes like down there for the Rumble, J-Lo? And who's your men's and women's Rumble winner before I share mine? But vibes on the city of Tampa with the Royal Rumble rumbling into town.
Well, not just the Royal Rumble, but you got Gasparilla tomorrow. Please be safe out there.
The Lightning are in town.
The Lightning are playing at home. But please, people are going out to celebrate Gasparilla tomorrow. Please be safe. Make smart decisions. Stay hydrated. And as far as the men's Rumble, I'll give you a big prediction right now. Give me The Rock at the 30th entry, and he wins the Rumble to go up 1-1 against Roman Reigns. Because I think they're building to a Cody versus CM Punk match for Mania. So that's my wild pick right there. For the women, give me Nia Jax. I think she's a good heel, and I think she's going to be the one that's going to step up to the plate and then take the strap from Rhea Ripley, even though she's been really, really hot right now in the women's division of wrestling.
Yeah, I like that. Give me... is Charlotte healthy, or is she out right now?
No, she's out, man. She either tore ACL, MCL. She had.
And that wasn't a work, right? All right, so if I had to pick one of each, I'm gonna go with Sasha Banks in a surprise for the women's.
Oh snap!
I think she might return, as that's what the Rumble's known for, returns, right? And I think for the men, give me Kevin Owens. I know he won't win. I know he won't win. There's realistically only 3 options a year that could win. But give me KO and give me Sasha Banks. Why not? And J-Lo, really incredible that Tampa gets the Rumble. I hope they get one in the fall upcoming so I could do a back-to-back wrestling pay-per-view Bucs game on a Sunday. That'd be incredible. Or
no, I'll just have to come to you in Chicago, man. That's a pretty hot commodity up there.
I know you'll be down soon.
Oh, yeah, no, we're talking about it. Like I said, I'm definitely going to make plans in April, a little around after my birthday. I think it's going to be a good time to come. Maybe we can do a show together at your La Casa and have some fun. And then you said it's like draft weekend, so let's effing go. That's what I'm talking about.
Draft weekend's going to be incredible. Rays are in town. So much great stuff, J-Lo. Can't wait till that, but until then, J-Lo, going to be fun, my friend. We're going to keep bringing the great coverage here on the Buccaneers. Have a great Friday, brother. I'll talk to you tonight, and I'll see you Sunday, my friend.
Yes, sir. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs, and also pay attention. New intro video coming very soon here to the Buccaneers. New year, new video. That's how we roll here. Fire the damn cannons, J-Lo.
Bang, bang.
Have a great Friday, bro.
You too, man. God bless.
Go Bucs. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's